After completing the stitch welding process on the 1980 Opel Kadett historic rally project car, I moved on to some repairs that were exposed during the stripping down of the shell. The worst of these was the windscreen surround, and I was actually getting quite worried about this because it has now been waiting for repair during the rest of the car's build process. But actually, once I got the wire wheel at it, I discovered things weren't quite as bad as they looked, and there was more stains from the rust than actual harm, although there is a little bit of pitting in this area, which is close to the maximum I'd accept to just fill over. But having cleaned it off, I'm happy to do that there. And as I went across the car, I found about 4 pieces that definitely need a little repair. So I cleaned these, and these are the areas where the rust has actually gone through. You could see from that left hand corner why I was worried. I cleaned up around the wiper arm pivot points, and that one is one that I actually put in prior to the project because it had been removed from the car in a single wiper conversion. I worked my way all the way around. It's actually quite like what I had to do on the Charade, which had the different type of windscreen seal that's common to a lot of Japanese cars, particularly from the 90s era, that rusted across that top edge. But this is actually rust that has spread from further in. And I also think this car was damaged a little bit in storage over the years with things stacked on top of it. There's a number of scratches to the roof, etc. But actually, luckily, I don't think there's many dents on the roof, so it should tidy up well. Now, making a few little cuts. It would have been handy maybe to get a replacement panel. Perhaps if I hadn't done the return to a 2-wiper conversion, I might have gotten one, but I did have a look and I couldn't find one. But you know, there actually wasn't a lot of work in doing this little repair, and the repairs are actually going to be under the windscreen rubbers as well. I've done more serious ones when I did the 4-door Orange Kadett Gina a number of years ago. That required quite a bit of repair in the corners, which is obviously harder to do because of the curved edges. So yeah, I couldn't cut deep enough, even with the small disc, to get the longitudinal cuts in these little areas I'm cutting out. So I just bent these up and used a small grinding disc on the grinder to eliminate the bits I had to pivot it up to make tidy little notches. Just trying to regularize the shape of the holes where I'm going to put in my repairs, because if I don't, it'd be too complicated that the pieces I have to cut out. So therefore I'm filing the edges and making them nice and regular. They actually now look like something that should have been there, and perhaps it wouldn't be a bad idea, because to have a few holes to let the water out. But anyway, we're going for originality, so I'm going to trace the holes onto a piece of paper and then cut those out and transfer them onto little pieces of metal for repairs. A little bit fiddly, but you know, because I'm actually going to do the 4 of them at once, setting up almost a production line, it actually will just feel like doing one repair. I think if I was to follow the process through with each one of these, it would actually be really quite tedious. So I'm going to cut out all 4 repairs here now in one go. There was a lot of bonding agent around this windscreen, so I think someone in the past may have struggled to keep the water out. But funnily enough, with these windscreens, I've never needed to use the sealant with the original seals when they're in properly. I think people often attribute a leak that these cars get from the scuttle area into the footwell to the windscreens, but actually it comes in lower down, quite often on the left hand side, which in this car's case is the driver's side. So getting my first few little spot welds onto the repairs now that I've got in. did use the grinder freehand a little bit to trim these in so they fitted well, and just tapping that one into place with the screwdriver and welding it in fully. So I'll cool that down there now with a blast of air, and now I'll just start grinding them down with the flap wheel and get them as flush as possible. So I will be coming back to this with a bit of filler later and just tidy them up flush so that they don't become water traps, and I'll cover up those few bits of pitting from the rust. I got this wire wheel there for the drill, which was handy for this edge, which is basically where the back of the bonnet kind of hooks in a sense, or drains into. Really, it's like a scuttle on a scuttle. Wire wheeling out that sealant, I'd made a mess of all the surrounds, so I'm just using a sanding block now to clean that off. But it's also, there were little stone chips or whatever had created them, small little bits of rust spots that needed a bit of sanding, so I'll get a bit of my zinc primer into all these and now dust it all off before this first bit of paint. There will be an overall primer on everything later, but that's improved the structure all around here. So we'll tidy it up when we're doing other bits of body filler around the car, and just continuing on that spray all around the perimeter so we won't get rust starting from under the windscreen again.